golly, I gotta sit down. I am sitting down. I gotta calm down. I love Resident Evil. I really, have I said that before? I've probably said it a couple times. I really love Resident Evil. And it's funny because it really does not feel like 8 was that long ago. I really expected there to be a bigger gap between 8 and 9, and yet we've been getting rumors about 9 for quite a while now. It has seemed very, very likely that we would get some sort of reveal this year. And it seems, word on the street is we will. We could get a full reveal at Summer Game Fest, and I hope we do, because that is very exciting. But we actually have some more details here. This comes from one Aesthetic Gamer, aka Dusk Golem. And this person, I really don't know how much of this is like actual, real, leaked info. Does this person know somebody? Is it a lot of speculation? I really don't know, but they seem to know something. Obviously all of this could not be true. Whatever. But it's a rumor, and so there you go. This person has dropped a lot of like tidbits about Resident Evil 9. Been kind of following the development for the last few years, and then recently they kind of compiled all this stuff into one convenient little place. And so I want to talk about it, because this is really, this is really fun stuff. This is really, really fun. Okay. So here we go. I guess I'll hit like kind of the major points and then talk about each one, give my opinions on each one as we go. So Leon, main character. And you know what? I could have guessed. I mean, it's not even a guess. It's been obvious. It's been obvious for a long time. Leon hasn't had his own game for a long time. They've been remaking all of these games. They remake 2, it's got Leon. They remake 4, it's Leon. So now, naturally, it is just time for Leon to come back. I mean, yeah, 5 was Chris, and then we had, and then 6 was kind of everybody. We don't talk about 6. And then 7 and 8 were like a brand new character. So like we are overdue for a Leon starring Resident Evil game. And I mean, I love Leon. Resident Evil 4 was my introduction to the series, so like, absolutely. I love the idea. I think everybody does. Just across the board, that's what everyone wants. Definitely what they're going to do. So that's cool, and it seems likely that he's not going to be the only character, but he will be the main character. And I mean, I kind of don't expect them to do like a Revelations thing where you're jumping back and forth between a bunch of characters, especially the first Revelations, like you do chapters of all these different characters. They could do something like that. I don't know if I see it. I think it's probably more likely it's going to be like in 7 in particular, there are like a bunch of like just like story beats that happen, like these little pieces of the story where you jump into another character's shoes here and there. I could see it being more like that. I don't know though. Yeah, but at the very least we know he is the main character. But even more interestingly, this is going to be something of a conclusion to his trilogy. You look at Resident Evil 2. That was kind of his introduction, and then 4 was like really his big break, and then this is going to be, and then, he was in 6, but again, everybody was basically in 6, so I don't know, maybe it just doesn't count. I don't know what they think about 6. But this is going to be like, yeah, like kind of the conclusion of his character. 2 was his origin story, 4 was a bunch more stuff, and this will kind of wrap him up in some way, which is, cool. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like, I doubt they're going to kill him off or anything. I don't think they would ever prevent him from making appearances in future games at all. And, you definitely can't even count out the idea of him starring in a game again. Maybe not, maybe so. I don't know. But it seems that this will be something of a conclusion of his trilogy. We'll talk a little bit more about the story in a bit. Talk about gameplay and design. It is going to be third person. So 7 and 8 were mainline games, but they were in first person, and there was always this idea, like, is this the way forward? Are you just going to do, like, remakes are going to be third person, Revelations going to be third person? Are you going to have this split? Is this first person thing an experiment? I kind of imagine that it probably was. I did kind of imagine that 9 would go back to third person. Not 100% sure, but it does seem to be the case if these rumors are to be believed. It's going to go back to third person. There was once a time when it was in development. I'm not going to go over all the development details, but it seems it's been in development for like kind of a long time and is kind of like shifted here and there. At one time, it was going to be like an open world co-op game that like Jill was going to be in too or something. Interesting idea. I mean, like, absolutely. A co-op open world game. That is strange. But at some point it changed and now it's just like regular third person, non-open world, single player game. That said though, this person claims that it is going to be like by far the most ambitious Resident Evil game ever. It's got the biggest budget, partially again because it's been in development for so long. But basically, they are looking to reinvent the series again, kind of in the same way that 7 was something of a reinvention. It kind of took it in a new direction. Obviously, 4 introduced more action, 5 even more, and then 6 just like drove the flaming semi off the cliff. It just was too far. So then 7 reeled it back in. They had to rethink everything. So it's going to be another kind of reinvention, but like even more so. It seems that this they're really looking back at the whole series, really examining the formula, reanalyzing the core elements, and kind of creating a new foundation to like move forward from. And I mean, if it's going to be very different from other Resident Evils, it's hard for me to think of what that looks like, because I don't know. 6 and then the Revelations games already, they kind of, I don't know about perfected the third person formula, but they really opened it up so that the character movement was a lot more like free and fluid, and a lot of those changes have followed through into the remakes. I don't know exactly what you do with it to make it that different, because ultimately it is just a person running around in third person and shooting. I don't know what you do with that to make it feel that different. I don't know. 6 kind of felt like it was really different. 6 felt like it was really trying to reinvent the third-person gameplay in a way, but it didn't feel good, so maybe that's just it. I don't know. Basically, I suppose I shouldn't speculate too much, because I don't know what it looks like, but it seems they are trying to reinvent it, and it's going to play differently than the other ones. But yeah, again, you could say that about 7 and 8. Because they're in first person. That's a big change. You're going back to third person. What are you doing to make it that different? But whatever. They're just reanalyzing everything. It's kind of like a new start for the series, and it's very ambitious. They're really trying to push above series expectations from a graphics and gameplay feel perspective. And I mean, even if I don't know what that means, it's exciting. Like all these games, they feel good to play. That's one of the reasons they are so good, and I can just play them over and over again because they just feel awesome. So Capcom has really been one-upping themselves this last, like, I don't know, could you say even like 10 years? They just keep raising that bar with all their different series and really just refining gameplay and just dialing into all of the best parts of these series and really, I don't know, just honing them. So even graphically too, like what else are you gonna do? Your games already look so good. What else can you even do with them? You're gonna push that bar even higher? All right, I've got my popcorn. I'm happy to see what they're cooking up for us, because I do have a lot of faith in them. But then here's an interesting thing. They're not just trying to like set a new standard for the series. They want to set a new standard for horror. They want this game to basically be like the horror leader. And that's what's interesting, is it's going to be largely a horror game. This claims more horror than action. Like, I'm sure there is going to be action, but a really, really big emphasis on horror. And that is surprising. It really is, because the more they have pushed into action, the more their games have sold. Like, that's just the fact of the matter. 5 sold amazingly. And then 6, even though we complain about 6, it also sold so well. You know what I mean? And then, like, I don't know. And then 7 was very critically acclaimed, but then 8 push toward the action even more so, and that was also very I don't know, whatever. I don't know if you could like correlate directly like the amount of action with the number of sales, but like basically pure horror has not done as well historically, and that's one reason why a lot of companies, even Capcom originally, kind of like shied away from it, is because like survival horror has a smaller audience than just basic shooty action. And it's surprising to hear that they want to push further back into horror, because it feels like they've got the formula kind of down, you know? Like 7 was definitely a return back to more horror, and that did do really well, but there was still plenty of action. But then 8, in the same way that you go from 4 to 5, you go from 7 to 8, and that was like way more action, way more big crazy set pieces, and yet like it was still scary. It still had so much just like personality. I don't know, I think it is natural to kind of like try to strike this balance, and maybe each individual project is going to go more one way or another, but like, I don't know. 8 was a big deal, and I feel like they struck a pretty darn good balance, and yet they want to go scary again, and I really respect that. They're like, we want to make like the best horror game possible. Awesome. Sure, I like the action. To me, it's not just about like how much action versus how much horror. It's more like personality. And I guess that's why 8 was so perfect and felt like the perfect balance to me, is because it had the personality. It's not just about like how scary it is or how much shooting there is. I don't know, whatever. But it seems that it is also going to have a gothic horror atmosphere and be very, quote, witchy. That's fun. That's fun. I just... Oh, I can see it in my head. It's just the more I read, my heart starts pumping. I'm just like, I'm imagining, okay, so it's Resident Evil 9. It's starring Leon. He's got his first new game in forever, and it's the most ambitious Resident Evil ever, but it's also super leaning into the horror. It's the best horror game ever, and gothic horror, witchy atmosphere. Come on, that's one of the best kinds of horror there be. It's pushing my buttons. These rumors here, they're really ringing my bell. You know what I mean? And then if we want to talk about the story, in the same way that the gameplay and the formula is kind of being rethought, kind of like sort of a culmination of elements, but then kind of like a relaunching of the gameplay, it seems that the story is going to be something of a conclusion. So it's like a conclusion to Leon's arc. But then also, it's going to be something of a conclusion for the entire series. It's in some way, it's going to kind of wrap up the story, essentially started in 1 or 0, however you look at it. So it's sort of the end, but then it's creating like a really big change in the universe. It's a major status quo change that is going to then set the stage for future games. So it's something of a conclusion game, but it's also a new beginnings game. So in every way possible, it seems like this is like something of a culmination of the whole entire thing, all of Resident Evil, all of these years, kind of leading to this moment. It is an ending, and it is a beginning. And yeah, whatever this, like, I don't... Status quo, what's going to change within the universe? The whole story has been kind of, it started at the beginning, the regular old T virus, and then people have changed it over time, but then they have found other viruses, other viral things. You got the flower, and you got the fungus, and so, and these different agencies and different things, entities have kind of like interacted. I don't know what you can do to kind of like create a really major shift in the world, but it says it's going to, quote, open the series up for different kinds of horror stories. So like some really big change. And it's kind of like the gameplay. It's kind of like the third-person gameplay. I can't see what that might mean. I don't know why you would even like necessarily need to. That's what I love about the series, the whole story. It's so bonkers. It's like, if you want to sum up the Resident Evil series, it's basically just like, what if it was just like really easy to make viruses that turn people into monsters? That's really just, it's easy. You know, you can just like, you can dig in the ground and find a parasite that turns you into a monster. You can find a flower in Africa that turns you into a monster. You can find a fungus that turns you into a monster. It's just kind of the thing. People turn into monsters. So you already basically have any kind of horror story you want. I mean, look at what 8 did with the fungus and where that went. They went pretty deep with it. And yet there's going to be some status quo change in the universe that opens the series up for different kinds of horror stories. Man, that's a lot. So, I mean, that's basically it. Yeah, I don't know. It's a lot. Yeah, it's wrong to get my hopes up. It's wrong to believe that any of this is necessarily true. But I suppose we may see in a couple days. I don't know. Could they reveal it at the State of Play? They just announced that for like tomorrow. Could it be at Summer Game Fest? Is Capcom going to have their own event? I don't know yet. I don't know. But, boy, oh boy. My tastes have changed a lot over the years. My interests, like, I spent a few years with them kind of opening up. And then more recently, it's kind of closing again. You know, it's waves, it's up and down. More recently, I've been kind of just like, it's all been boiling down to like my absolute favorites. And right now, Resident Evil is still absolutely one of those series that I am madly in love with. I've been jonesing to play the games recently. The next time I have time to play video games after like Switch 2 stuff, I just want to play another Resident Evil. I don't even know which one. Probably 8 again, but maybe 4 again. I don't know. They're all so good. So I will now end this video and just hope this is all true, because I love it. It's a good rumor.